everyone, obviously you know who I am, and this is Paul, and I've known Paul for probably about 7 years now,
Is
I
it that
think.
long now?
Yeah, it's been about since
Making me feel
2015.
old.
I know, oh God, about 7 years, and I met Paul through a Forex company. We'll not go deep into that, but Paul massively helped me with my mindset and going live. And actually, it was you that got me to do my first live, and I remember being terrified. And you had this
But you did
challenge,
it. But you
yeah, and
did
I
it.
did it, and I would do it all the time. And I would say over the years, anytime I've ever kind of messaged Paul and asked for just a bit of guidance or help, like he just always knows what to say. And I've had a few light bulb moments with Paul as well. Um, Paul does many things, but the thing that we're going to be talking about today is NLP, which stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. And I'm not going to kind of tell you about it because Paul is more of the expert. So I guess we'll start by Paul sharing, firstly, what is NLP?
It's a tough question, actually. Okay, what is NLP? Because it's the study of subjective experience. Because every human sees things, thinks about things in a different way. So when you try and nail it down, it's very hard. But fundamentally, I like to tell this story when anybody asks what it is. So one of the co-creators, Richard Bandler, who I actually trained with for a weekend, which was amazing, right? But he told this story. So he was learning computer programming, and at the university he was at, they had a flood or something. I can't remember if it was a flood or a fire, but some sort of natural disaster took out the computer lab. So while they were rebuilding it and sorting out different things to do, he had to stay with a psychologist. And he was reading all these psychology books and he was fascinated. And he said to the psychologist, these books are amazing. And the guy says, well, I'm glad you find, my area of expertise are good. And he said, they all talk about phobias and how people have these problems with their minds and how, what caused it may be and how they do these things. And he goes, yeah, it's fascinating. And he said, well, where's all the books that tell you how the people that are successful?
Yeah.
Where are those books that how did
Mhm.
somebody overcome a phobia maybe, or how is somebody who's naturally good at something? Where's the books that explore how they're really good at that and how they can be an Olympian, or where are those books? And he said, the guy kind of looked at me, gone out, like, why would anybody be interested in that? So he started studying that, and he went and he studied some successful people in different fields. He studied a psychologist, he studied hypnotist, and he got interested in what do people do up here that makes them successful. Because if you want to be an Olympian, for example, you've got 2 legs, I've got 2 legs, we can both run. But so, we've got the same physical attributes. So what is it that makes the person that becomes really successful in any endeavor? If we've all got the same resources, and especially these days with the internet, nobody can say, well, I haven't got any knowledge, because it's everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can find everything you need to know. So that's basically what it is. A lot of people call it the science of success, but Richard Bandler doesn't like that. It's a model of how our brains work. I'm not a neuroscientist, but it's a useful model for how things work and how we can change things up here to get a different result out here, as it were, in the physical world. And the name, I always like to tell this as well. Richard Bandler was speeding. He got pulled over, and the police officer said, "Where are you going? Why are you in such a rush?" He goes, "I'm really sorry. I'm really late. I'm going to give a talk, and I'm late." "Well, what's the talk about?" And he looked at his passenger seat where he had all these books. One was about neurology, and one was about computer programming.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's the co-creator of NLP. John Grinder was a linguist, so he had a language book as well from John. So it's on neuro linguistic programming, and that's how the name came.
I never knew that.
Oh, nice, it's good. I like to be upfront and open with people.
Yeah.
But it sounds good. So basically, neuro, the brain, linguistic language. I prefer communication. Okay, but it's out. I suppose if we said NCP, it's a car park, and then
Yes.
P is programming. Just like you program a computer, if you knew, you'd be programming your brain up here to do certain things, like doing lives, like you did.
Yeah, definitely. So in other words, it's basically like why we do what we do based on our beliefs, kind of. Is that like, would you sum it up?
It's the structure of our thoughts, beliefs, capabilities. I'll share a bit more on that maybe in a bit. I brought a prop, but yeah. So if you think about it, if you're scared of spiders, what do? You tend to pull away from them, kill them, attack them, run away from them. If you're, how many times bigger am I than a spider? You know, the spider's no threat. And another little thing I like to do is if I say to a lot of people watching this now, you know, think of snakes and spiders, how do you feel? They'll go, ooh. And I say, I've got good news for you. You're not actually scared of snakes or spiders. Because unless there's one in the room with you now, you must be scared of the picture and the thoughts that you're making of the snakes and the spiders in your head, not the actual physical snake or spider. So if we can change our thoughts, that picture in our head when we think of a snake or a spider, if we can change that, we can change how we feel, can't we? And we can do that with all sorts of things, like asking somebody out on a date, like being successful in business, like getting over phobias, all sorts of things.
Yeah. So do you know how, and I think we briefly spoke about, there's different types of therapy and different type of help for people who are like, who have suffered phobias, for example, what you're talking about, and trauma and different things like that. And sometimes people might feel like they need to go and see a counsellor, which is like a talk and therapy where they're kind of just talking about the problems. And sometimes that can be good to obviously talk out loud.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and I think you'd said something to me with like the NLP. This might be the wrong way to use, but like a bit like more of a fast track, because you're not having to kind of go deep and release and revisit all of that trauma.
So a lot of people, if they have a problem, they go to therapy. So basically, a lot of sort of therapies, they think you need to talk about your problems to get over them. You need to confront them. We need to be open about them. We need to talk them. And I am not against that. But you see that picture on my wall there. If I said to you, Hayley, I'm sorry, I got to stop for a minute, Hayley, because I hate that picture. I just can't stand it. It makes me feel bad. It makes me feel scared. I come out in sweats. What would you tell me to do?
Take it down.
Take it down. Change it. And that's where it can be fast. There's another great story of like, if you couldn't swim and you're in a raging river, right? And a psycho, the rapist, comes along and he goes, oh my God, you've fallen in the river. And you go, yes, and I'm drowning. And they go, right, when did you first feel like you were falling into the river? Yeah, that's interesting. And you'll be like, oh, okay. And so what was your relationship like with your mum and your, oh, okay, that's interesting. That might uncover something there. And tell me how you feel now. I feel like I'm drowning, right? So, but what NLP does is kind of, the NLP practitioner would come and say, you're drowning. Oh my God, here's my hand. Let's get you out the river. If you're still worried about the other stuff, we'll deal with that after. But fundamentally, you want to get out the river and stop drowning, don't you? And like I've just said, with snakes and spiders and things, you can trace everything back to how you feel about something. And how you feel about something is how you think about something. So if we can change how we think, it's just nobody gave us the manual how to do it. Right? If we can change how we think, you change your feeling, change your behavior. Makes sense? So that's where NLP is kind of quick. We're not really worried about the whys. And what's one of the great things about NLP, I absolutely love it. I can cure somebody of a phobia without even knowing what the phobia is. And people think, well, how's that work? It's because I don't care what, I care how. How do you know you're having a phobia? Well, I break out in a sweat. Okay, but so you're thinking about something. Like I say, it's not happening now. There's no spider here now, is there? So how are you thinking? What do you mean? And people don't know, kind of don't get it until I explain this. I say, well, think about your birthday party you had when you were 7 years old. And they go, yeah. And I say, well, how do you know you're thinking about your birthday party and not my birthday party? And then they go, well, I'll ask you, think about your birthday party when you were a kid, one of them.
I can see the images in your head.
Exactly. You can see it. So if you can see it, I know you're seeing a picture. And viewers, Hayley's eyes just didn't roll back inside her head, did they? To sort of decide where we know the pictures are coming from your brain. But you didn't roll your eyes back into your head. So look, so I know that the picture that you're seeing must be in front of you, above you, to the side. It must be out here somewhere, like one of those supercomputers that Iron Man's got in the Marvel films, you know, 3D in the space around you. So I know you're seeing a picture, and you know, maybe we'll see where we go with the call, but maybe I'll do a demo or something in it.
Yeah, that would be good. But that's a good point as well with images and people with like anxiety and phobias and things like that. Because your brain doesn't sometimes realize what's real, it believes whatever you tell it, doesn't it? So if an image pops in your head, it then triggers the feelings that you had at the time.
Well,
as well.
There's two things there. One, if you've ever woken up from a nightmare and your heart's pounding and your palms are sweaty and you know you're pumping and stuff, then you know for a fact the brain can't tell the difference between real and vividly imagined. And sometimes if I get people that are depressed, I go, what would you do if you just won the lottery, if you just found out? And you see their face light up and it's like, well, we can change that state. We call it a state from being depressed. And by the way, if anybody here is depressed, you know, it's serious. I get that. But just do me a favor, look up to your left and try and be depressed. Very hard to do. And people hate me when I do that with them. I'm so depressed. I'm like, that's terrible. No, you don't know what it's like. Look up to the left and be depressed. Bastard. Sorry. And that it's really hard because you've heard the expression downright sad.
Yeah.
So where people that are down, it's called down because they look down. And your feelings tend to be over to the right, so they're downright sad. It's not so common now, but people's TVs always used to be down to the right in the living rooms.
Right.
When people used to build those horrible...
Mine is. Ooh,
where do you spend most of your time looking?
I don't really watch it much, but
but it doesn't matter. The point is, that's where people would look. And there's a thing with eye movement. And if you read up on NLP, this is one of the things that people debunk with NLP because it's not right 100% of the time. But if I ask somebody to think about the colour of their front door, look at Hayley's eyes. What's the colour of your front door, Hayley?
Wait.
Okay, what if it's pink?
Say that again?
What if it was pink?
If it was pink, I would have...
Did you see Hayley's eyes go up?
They went to the left there.
Up to the left?
Yeah.
Okay, so actors and cartoonists realised this back in the 1930s when the first like black and white cartoons were coming out. If you ask somebody to think of something or say, I want you to act like you're trying to remember something, people do this, don't
they? Yes.
That's because the brain stores visual stuff generally for the vast majority of people, right? But in general, your images are stored up here. And visual constructed images, right, are over to your right, my left. And remembered images are up to my right, where your eyes went up to the right, your left, right? Now, why is that important? If you watch politicians on TV in an interview, we used to play this game after we learned NLP. I did NLP with my wife, which was good. But a politician, if they're telling a lie, so visual constructed, what would it be like if it was pink? Your eyes went up to your left. So you're making something up.
Yeah.
What colour is it? White. Your eyes go the other way, right? So you can use it as like a mini lie detector sometimes. If people are wired up that way, which most people are. And then you've got sounds, right? Auditory. I'm auditory. So I tend to look left to the right. Okay, my auditory, when I'm talking to myself, stuff I'm imagining and making up is one way and remember the other. But feelings are down and to your right, generally down right side.
I know. I've heard about if you look at someone's eye and they look left, they're lying. And do you know what? There's a few times where, like if I've been speaking where you said something, it's not always the case, where I've done something and I've went, and then you get paranoid thinking they're going to think I'm lying.
The good thing is though, if you ask somebody to think about something, they tend to do that naturally. And what people don't realize is if you put your eyes there, it helps. And an NLP technique that's used with children that struggle to spell. So if you've got kids, anyone, and they want to do better with their spelling, what you do is give them the words and tell them to imagine they're taking a photograph of it. Click, make the sound. Imagine they're taking a photograph of that word that they need to spell. And then when they want to spell it, just tell them to look at where the words are, look at where the photos are, and they can just read it off.
Yeah, we'll have to try that with
We get them to look up, right, and to their, that way, up and to their left, my right. I'm used to doing it from my point of view.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And also what I didn't mention at the beginning, which I should have, is obviously if anybody does have any questions for Paul, and it could just be like a tip, couldn't it? Like a bit of advice about how to do something. Obviously, we won't have time to go deep in, but you might be able to give them a little insight on things.
Sure.
And then obviously at the end, we can kind of share, how you could go and join onto Paul's stuff as well. So do you know how earlier on you said about you might do like a testimonial thing? Not a testimonial thing, like a demonstration.
Have you
got one in your mind?
Who's got a problem?
Everyone.
I've got one in
Me.
mind, but
Everyone.
I've got one in mind, but anybody here suffer with anxiety, nerves?
So if anybody
Anybody
wants to comment and say,
eat a food that they want to stop eating?
oh God, me, but we'll let someone else try and do this. So I can't say if like the number of people watching on this, that's why I had to click off before. So if anybody obviously has a question or is doing what Paul's just said, if anyone suffers from depression or anxiety, comment me. Sometimes they're delayed as well, you know.
Say that again, sorry.
Sometimes comments are delayed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The other
they
day
take
I
a
did a
little bit.
live and then I came off and I seen loads of comments and I was like, I didn't see them when I was live. So wait 2 seconds. I'm going to refresh this, Paul.
No worries.
Let's say hypothetically, or do you need to be asking them questions? Because if nobody says me, I could just use me if you want. Nobody's.
Yeah, that's fine. What's your food then that you want to stop eating?
I am so bad with bread. I should be gluten-free, but bread is so nice. It calms me
Bread
nervous
is so
system.
nice. Okay. Right, let's do bread.
Oh, 2 seconds. I've got
So
Gemma.
hate.
She's just said, sorry, I missed this. Oh, she might have just come back on. So Gemma, we're just asking a question because he's going to do a demonstration if you want to volunteer. And he's just said, if there's anybody who wants to, she's taking notes, she said. What was your question again? If anybody's suffering with anxiety or depression, or if there's something they want to stop, is that what you said?
If you've got, let's not do depression because that
Right,
can
okay,
open
it's
up,
too deep. Yeah.
I'd rather do that one-on-one. But if anybody,
Yes.
well, I mean, fair, I probably could, but let's be sensible, right? But because I'm part of an organization and we have a code of ethics and everything, so I have to do everything properly, right? But if anybody ever suffers nerves, anxiety, if you have to do public speaking, if you, like I said, a food diet and you want to stop eating a particular food, maybe, those sort of things are good. I can help with fear, stuff like that.
So put a comment in
comes up,
if you want to participate, and if you don't comment the next few seconds, I'll know that you just want to watch.
Then we're gonna
not wait too long.
You.
And we're gonna edit this for the podcast anyway. I'm just waiting to see if she's probably thinking, what am I right? I think as well it might be hard for people to think, well, what's going to be asked after that? So I tell you what, then we'll just go with bread. I'll just go with me and we'll just say bread.
Okay, so we're gonna go with bread. Okay, what's the food? Let's do this. Let's do it this way. So tell me about bread. Think about bread. How do you know you're thinking about bread? Seeing a picture.
Do you know what? I can smell it.
Picture. You can smell it.
I feel like I can smell the smell of bread. It's just like bakeries and bread. It's just so nice.
Okay. Freshly baked bread, yeah?
Yeah. It's better.
When you go to the supermarket or you make your own? Or?
I tried, but it wasn't that nice. I tried to make rice bread. I prefer me Warbins or Tiger bread.
Tiger, that's what we have. We have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. We got a Morrison's where we are. That's our local.
Yeah.
And they fresh break every day. So right.
Yeah.
So tiger bread, and you can smell it. And how attractive is it out of 10 when you imagine that smell now? 10 being absolutely, I'd devour.
Do you know what though? Right now, it depends because I'm not hungry right now.
Right.
So it doesn't seem that desirable. It's probably about a 6 or 7.
About a 6 or 7.
At least I'll say 7. But normally it's like if I'm hungry or if I'm stressed, it feels even more desirable. And when I eat it, it just helps us regulate. So
you see, this is where some people will often say to me, why isn't NLP taught in schools? Why isn't it taught in hospitals to help people overcome pain? Why isn't it taught for weight loss? Why isn't it taught for this? And because there are different things I could do with Hayley now to help her get over this, because Hayley she gets stressed. She wants to change state.
Yeah.
Who wants to be stressed?
Yeah.
One way you can change your state is eating, right?
Yeah.
And eat a nice food, and she loves bread and she can smell the bread. So we could break that link. That's one thing we could do. Number 2, we could stop Hayley getting stressed. We could have an alternative way of getting stressed that you say nobody needs to suffer, right? Nobody needs to be stressed. Okay, but for the purposes of what I was going to do with the demo, because we talked about pictures in the head, I'm going to carry on with that. So you can smell that tiger loaf. And when you think about it, can you see a picture of it as well for me?
Yeah, can
You know,
actually.
with the cracks on the top.
Yes.
That's lovely, sort of orangey, yellowy.
Yes.
Sort of, yeah. And how about now when you see that picture?
My tongue's watering a bit.
Tongue's watering. So it's creating a physical reaction, even though
It
there's no
is.
tiger bread
Yeah.
there. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, if you look at that picture for me, Hayley, I can't see the picture that's in your head, obviously. So could you just show me with your fingers, maybe, how big is it? Is it that big? Is it that big? Is it life size? Is it?
It's like it's a full one. It's already been cut.
So it's a full loaf, but what about the
Full.
actual picture? If it was the TV screen size, how big
Oh.
the TV? Would it be real life size TV? Would it be, that big? Show me with your
Do you know
hands. Where
what?
does the picture end?
I am actually visualizing the loaf on my bench right now.
Yeah.
So it's about this size.
Okay. So it's about that big. What's that? I don't know, 20-inch TV or something. And it's in front of you. Is it in colour?
Yeah, it's like browny orange.
Is it bright or dull, the image?
Probably in the middle. It's not, I wouldn't say it's bright. Probably in the middle.
Fantastic. How far away from you is it? Arm's
Like-
length, show me.
There.
Okay. Yeah, about arm's length.
I'm stood at the bench.
Now then, I'm guessing that this is what we call associated. You've seen it through your own eyes. You're not in the picture, are you? You're just seeing the bread. Okay. And is it 2D or 3D, Hayley?
3D. I think it's 3D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leave it there. And just tell me again. Look at it. Smell it. Out of 10.
Yeah, it's a little bit more appealing, actually.
Make the
That's
picture
what I'm thinking about it.
Make the picture a little bit bigger.
Right, okay.
Can you see the steam coming off it? Freshly baked, still warm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
How much out of 10 now? She's getting there, isn't she?
Yeah, probably about 9.
About 9. All right, we'll go with that. Okay, so just leave that hanging there for me. I'll tell you what, I was going to do something else, but we're going to do something a bit different. Look at it again, get in touch with it again, feel it, about a 9. If you can get a little bit more, that'd be great. Feel your tongue salivating, smell it. Now, as you're looking at it, just let all the colour drain out, so it goes black and white.
Right, okay.
And what about now?
It's not really appealing as much.
Now,
Like burnt, it just reminds us of, when you said that, it reminds us of like burnt toast, which I don't like.
okay, now, I don't know how old Hayley is, but she can probably remember tellies that had the dial
Yeah.
rather than the. Just turn the brightness down for me so it's a bit dull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And now imagine you could float out the back of your head so you can see yourself and you can see the bread in front of you, and you're looking at that black and white dull, maybe with a couple of maggots on it now.
Yes, I can. Oh.
Now make it go a bit grainy, a bit crackly.
Yeah.
And smell again. Smell that nice bread smell. Is it bread or is it raw sewage?
Yeah, it's just not appealing at all.
And if you imagine you could pick a bit up that's got a bit of damp corner.
A bit sogginess.
With the smell of the raw sewage.
I don't want to touch it.
You want to smell it? You want to touch it?
Yeah.
So Hayley, if they made a submarine out of salami meat, how would that work, do you think, if they made a submarine out of salami?
Well, it wouldn't.
Why not?
Because it's not the same, not the right material.
And what's 12 plus 12 minus 3 plus 6 minus 2 add 5?
I got the first bit, but then I stopped processing that.
Think about that nice loaf of bread for me and tell me what's different.
Well, everything about it, it's not really hitting that spot. It's not desirable anymore because I had the image of it being burnt when you said drain the colour. So it was a bit burnt. You said maggots, so you're definitely not going anywhere near that. The sogginess. So yeah, not appealed by that at all. I'm probably a 0.
When you're ready to have it back, let me know. So just to explain what we do there, like I said, how we feel about something depends on how we think about something, and how we think about something will always be made up of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, feel. All right, I'll explain that in a second, maybe. Okay, so we've changed how Hayley sees a nice tiger loaf. And then the reason why I ask about a submarine made out of salami and ask her to do a sum that even I don't know the answers to either of those. The best answer I got though was it wouldn't work because the fish would eat it. I thought, that's pretty cool.
Ah.
Answer that. They were very clever. If you're watching. So what, our brains are a bit like a computer, and where people get phobias, it's a bit like you have your hard drive memory, and then your brain has like a RAM, like your memory that your computer is using now, and it makes these associations, and it will say, bread, tiger loaf, yes please, very nice. It creates like these links. So when you think about tiger loaf on your hard drive, it pulls that out into RAM, into its memory, its working memory, and it's like, oh yeah, tiger loaf, this is how we feel about tiger loaf, yum. We changed the image, all we did was change pictures.
Yeah.
Now we don't like tiger loaf so much, right? Think about a submarine made out of salami. Oh crap, I can't work that out while I've got this bread thing. I better save it. But it saves it back to the hard drive in the way we just manipulated it. So now when you think about that tiger loaf,
I'm going to think about maggots and burnt.
you can see it. You can see it in her eyes. If you watch this back, you can see tiger loaf. Oh yeah, tiger, you know.
Yeah.
And then now it's like
a bit disgust.
It has to search for how do we feel about it now.
Yeah.
And the brain's pulling it back. I can put it back for you if you want after. We won't tell anybody. That and chocolate eclairs, eh? Yeah.
Oh, chocolate eclairs, lovely. But, and I suppose, is that a little bit of how hypnosis works? Is that a little bit different?
Yeah, it can do. Yeah, I mean, I am qualified to do basic hypnosis, but I never use it. I don't need to. We spend most of our life in a hypnotic trance anyway. If you've ever driven your car somewhere and you got the music on, haven't you? And you're maybe having some sweets and you got your arm on the window ledge and you've got music playing, and you get there and you're here already or whatever, and you're in a car that could mow people down. You're not. You're like. You don't think about every traffic light and every turn and every pedestrian crossing. And it's like, oh, I'm here already. How did I get here? You're basically driven there in a trance. And our brains are very good at doing this. Because if you think about it, if let's suppose you lived in Australia and I said, oh, fly over, come and meet me. When you came to the door handle there, you wouldn't even think twice, would you? You wouldn't think twice about opening the door, right? Even though we're in a different country, miles and miles and thousands of miles apart. So the brain is very good at kind of generalizing and going into these patterns, and hypnosis and NLP take advantage of those patterns. Sometimes we want to break them, sometimes we want to use them. And something we can do with NLP is, I use this with people that struggle to learn things. I ask them what they really like to learn at school or what they're really good at. And just like we say, that bread, you see in a picture, is it in front of you? Is it color? Is it black and white? Yeah. I take down what's called the submodalities. And I ask them, that thing that you like to learn, tell me about it. When you think about that subject, math or whatever, they go, oh yeah, it's a big picture. It's up here and it's color and it's focused and it's sharp and it's bright. And then the thing that they struggle to learn will be, oh, it's dull, it's small. And all we do is we move it and say, right, we'll put it there then, where the thing that you like was. Make the colors the same, make the brightness the same, make the sharpness and the focus the same. And I have had amazing results with a couple of people doing that. And it's so simple. It's so simple.
Yeah.
So I don't need to put anybody in a trance. I don't really believe you're really in a trance anyway. I've been hypnotized. It's to bypass what they call the critical factor. And, it can be useful, but I find with NLP, I don't really ever need to do the hypnosis bit.
And when you're talking about that as well, like the habitual thing, like if anyone's ever got a new mobile phone and you go to automatically, where your apps have all moved all over and you go to this left to click like, to access an app, and you do it so quickly. But when you get a new phone, you're like, oh, it takes you time because you do go on autopilot. I go on autopilot driving home. Sometimes if I'm not thinking and I'm meant to go somewhere else, I'll automatically just drive home.
We moved house about 3 months ago now, and we come out the supermarket and I need to be in the left lane now to come home before it's the right lane. The amount of times I went in the right lane.
Yeah.
And then I actually did an NLP technique called a swish pattern. You can look it up. We probably haven't got time to do that now.
What's it called? Swish. I'll just write it down.
Swish. SWISH.
Swish pattern. And I think that's probably good just for even people to know about that anyway, isn't it? Because if people aren't happy in their life, but like you said, you can either get rid of something or create something, they know that the first step is probably to disrupt those patterns by being conscious and aware, or just doing something different, like walk a different way home, or
I said I'd expand on something, and I think this is really important. So if you only get this from today's, this is the thing, right? So if I was born in Italy and I grew up in Italy and I never left Italy, and I watched Italian TV, Italian movies, listened to Italian radio, read Italian books and magazines, and everybody around me spoke Italian, I would be trying to communicate with Hayley now in Italian, wouldn't I? And that's because all of my input would be Italian. Everything I get in is Italian, therefore everything I try and put out would be Italian. Makes perfect sense. Now think about your brain locked inside your skull. What country does that live in? Right? It's not Italy, it's not France, it lives in its own little world. So what input does your brain get? What language does that speak? You know, well, it speaks sight because it sees through your eyes. It gets auditory because it hears through your ears. It gets smell, olfactory we call it, which has no filters, by the way. That's sometimes when you can smell something, it immediately takes you back to a holiday or to you sitting in your granddad's armchair or something, you know, straight away. There's hardly any filters, right? Taste, I left a bad taste in my mouth. Why do we say things like that? I smell a rat. I smell a rat with this business deal. How can a business deal smell like a rat? Who smelt a rat? Who knows what a rat smells like? But we say these things, don't we?
Yeah.
Bad taste in my mouth, that did. It just looks wrong to me, right? And then feeling as well. So sight, sound, smell, taste, and feeling. And feeling covers two areas. It covers the actual, well, this desk is smooth and cold, and this lamp is rough and hot because the bulb's on, right? So there's that actual feeling, and also it kind of emotional. I feel happy, I feel sad. That's called kinesthetic. So if I grew up in Italy, I'd be speaking Italian. My brain speaks the senses. And we try and do things like, I'm not going to be nervous. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to build this business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the gym. Well, you're trying to speak in words, and our brains do not understand words the way we think they do. And I know Hayley's seen me do this before. So I'm going to ask you all, if you all understand English, you understand the words do not under any circumstances think of a blue elephant with wings flying over the Eiffel Tower in France in the moonlight. Do not think of that. And this is why if you've got kids, especially who haven't developed as strong filters as adults, you tell them not to go into the, if you tell your daughter, Hayley, not go into the kitchen.
Yeah.
Do not spill your milk.
Yeah.
Make sense of that. They have to make an image or a little movie or some sight, sound, smell, taste, feeling representation of that to understand what the hell you mean. So you say, do not go into the kitchen. You're basically telling them to go into the kitchen, because that's what they're going to have to make in their head. The senses speak. The words mean not what we think they do. Okay. So when you do that, what the kid's making in their head is always going to be the thing you're telling them not to do. And when they do it, there's no point shouting them because it's your fault. They should shout at you for programming them.
Yeah. So is that the same as saying like energy goes where energy flows where focus goes? That's kind of a similar thing, isn't it? Whether you say you do want to or you don't want to, whatever that is associated with, that's where your focus is.
It's not strictly NLP, but there's a thing called a reticular activating system. And if I say to you, I'm not with everybody here, but if I invite you all to just look around the room for me now and look at everything that's blue and just take in everything that's blue. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, just get everything blue. And now tell me, without looking, everything that's green in your room.
I can do it. I'm only joking, but I am now. When you were saying that about green, I'm like, well, I've got a green lamp in me, green.
But it's harder, right? Because I just asked you to focus on what was blue. And if
I know what you mean. So you're thinking the blue things, yeah.
Which foot's warmer, your left or your right foot? Which is the warmest?
I don't know. I get cold hands and feet. I don't know.
You don't know?
Right now?
Yeah.
Probably me right one, actually.
Okay. But you weren't thinking about that until I asked you, were you?
No, I wasn't. No.
So your brain filtered that information out.
Yeah.
So when you want to be really successful at something, and I tend to work with a lot of online marketers and stuff, when they want to be really, really successful, there could be something that could help them right under their nose. but their reticular activating system is focused on the stuff they don't want. Because if you go out on the street and try it, if you ask 100 people what they want, they generally will tell you what they don't want. What do you want? I don't want to be in debt anymore. Oh, okay, that's debt. You're focused on debt. Because to make sense of it, do not think of a blue elephant with wings. I don't want debt. I don't want to be so overweight. I want to lose weight. You don't want to, they don't say, I want to be thin. I want to be thin and happy and healthy. I want to lose weight. I don't want to be so fat.
I don't want to be fat.
And I hate this
Focus
job.
on fat.
I want to get out of this job. I want to be self-employed. I want to work for myself. I want to have my own business. I want my freedom. And seriously, just like don't think of a blue elephant with wings. I want to lose this weight. I want to get out of this job. I don't want to self-sabotage all the time. I want to, and it's true. If you ask most people what they want, they tell you what they don't want straight away. Without, it's the story they've told themselves for so many years. You know, that they're just used to doing it.
Yeah, and I think some people probably don't know what they want because they're too busy focusing on all the negatives in their life as well. Like, because they're busy getting up in the morning, going, here we go, another day. Like, got to go to work. I don't really want to go to work. I've got to do the school run. I've got to, without kind of focusing in, like, on gratitude and focusing on the positive things.
There's also this, Hayley, that, you know, I wanted to come and live where I live now. I live in a place called Bude in Cornwall. And we used to come here on holiday. We used to go to a place called Boscastle, if anybody knows it. Beautiful old little sort of harbour fishing village kind of thing. And about 13, well, a lot longer now, but at the time, for 13 years, we'd said, wouldn't it be nice? Why do you have to wait till you're retired? Why can't we go and live there now? So I worked online. So it's like I didn't need to have a job, right? And it was like, I just couldn't make it happen. We even sold our house 3 times and it fell through every time, right? And it was like, I couldn't make enough money, couldn't sort it out. So in NLP, we have outcomes. We don't have goals, we have outcomes. And you'll often hear about these SMART goal things. Hey, specific, measurable, right? Achievable, relevant, time-based, right? So you can say, well, I want to lose weight. So specific, I want to lose 14 pounds. Is that a stone still? I don't know. Yeah. So I want to lose 14 pounds. Okay, that's specific. Measurable? Yeah, I can get on the scales. Is it achievable? Yeah, people lose weight all the time. Is it relevant? Well, it is to me because I want to look good on the beach. Right? And then time-based. Well, it's not yet, but people say, don't know, about £1 a week. So let's say 14 weeks then. So I want to lose £1 a week for 14 weeks. So now I've written down my SMART goal. I will definitely lose that weight, won't I?
Yeah. But then
what happens?
But how do you do it? How your mindset changes and
so what happens? So one of the things that we got asked when we did the NLP course is, okay, so if you move to Cornwall, what will you lose? What do you mean, what will I lose? Hayley would lose eating that lovely tiger loaf.
I'd come yours and pinch yours.
So what do you do instead? Oh, okay, I never thought about that. Well, I only eat it when I'm stressed. Well, if you didn't get stressed, so if I could teach you a technique now to stop you being stressed, would that be useful? Oh yeah, okay. And that's what we do. So we thought we knew what we wanted, but actually we didn't, because what would happen to mother-in-law? Who'd look after her? She moved, she followed me down.
Right.
So that's another story, another podcast. That's trauma. No. But so people say they're clear and they do these SMART goals. I threw out most of my self-development books. These are mostly NLP books now. I threw out most of my self-development books because they teach that rubbish. Because that doesn't take into account the fact that, let's say, when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, grew up on a council estate. It's a value of mine. I like to eat out and have takeaways because I couldn't when I was young, when I was a kid. Yeah. Right. I wanted, my parents were great, don't get me wrong, okay, but like with home computers and stuff, you know, I now have a collection of old retro computers, right, that stuff I couldn't have when I was younger, right? So I have these values. So if I want to lose weight, but one of my values is that I'm going to eat out all the time and have takeaways, well, I've got a conflict of values there, because on the one hand, I want to lose weight, and on the other hand, I want to eat out. And when you eat out at restaurants, you know why it tastes better than anything you cook at home usually? They put like a lot of butter in it. So it's not always the healthiest, is it? Right? So you have a conflict of values. You might have a limiting belief. It might be a good time to pull this out. But what I will say is, after doing my NLP course, I think it was within 4 months of finishing the course, we were packing the removal van. So after 13 years of failing, we did the NLP course, and then we were packing the removal van, and we made it work. It's all good.
Wow.
Been looking at things in a different way.
Mhm.
So I want to share this with people because this is really, really useful. So this is these are called logical levels. There's a guy called Robert Dilts who did a lot of development in NLP. So it works in, let's suppose you're a teacher, right? What's beyond you? What's beyond self? Well, you're part of the education system. For a lot of people, though, when they talk about this, they'll talk about a religion maybe or something like that. Okay. I tend to stay away from all that, just to not get drawn in. Yeah. But so the main one here is identity. Who are you? How do I see myself? Do I see myself as a lucky person? Do I see myself as a go-getter? Do I see myself as somebody who achieves their goals? Or do I see myself as somebody who's stuck in this job and can't get out? Do I see myself as somebody who's depressed all the time because this happens to me and that happens to me? Right? Okay. How you see yourself, that affects your beliefs and your values, doesn't it? So let's suppose in beyond me is religion and I'm Jewish. So I see myself, I identify as a Jew. What does that do about my beliefs and values about eating pork and bacon and having a bacon sandwich? Okay. Well, that affects it, doesn't it? And then how? Skills and capabilities. How do I do things? Well, I'm not lucky. Nothing works out for me. I screw everything up. Because it's like you ask kids to hoover, right? They hoover and there's bits on the carpet still. Well, you've left bits. But I put it around. I did the hoovering, but the capability and the skill is to make sure you get all the bits up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's your skills and capabilities. That then affects your internal and external behavior. And that leads to your environment. So I get people say, for example, I hate my job. And I go, well, okay, well, that's where you are now then. That's your environment. You're in this job you hate. And you're broke and you don't earn enough and you work these long hours. And that used to be me, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, internal and external behavior. Who signed the contract? Who went to the interview? Who hasn't found another job yet? Who hasn't built a business side hustle on the side that could take over yet then? That's you, isn't it? Oh, well, you don't know, because I can't, skills and capabilities, get a better job because I haven't got a degree and I haven't got this and I didn't learn this and I'm no good at computers. The amount of times I hear that, I'm no good on computers, you see, and everything's computers now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is a belief. And also, you know, a lot of people as well, again, I don't want to go into money too much, but a lot of people don't like rich people. It's all right for them. People win the lottery, they get, you know, cars.
Oh, you're frozen. Oh, you're
Rich
frozen,
people
Paul.
having.
Oh, you just froze for a second. So you said some people win the lottery and then it froze.
Okay, so hello, you're frozen there. Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
Yeah, cool. I'll go for it and you just tell me again. Yeah, you paused a couple of times there. So yeah, people win the lottery and they'll get like their cars vandalized and stuff just because they won the lottery. And they lose friends and their friends start hating them now because now they're rich, right? Well, if you've got that kind of going on with you, your beliefs and values, if you don't think that's right, no wonder you're broke. There's a guy called Brad Sugars. He's an Australian entrepreneur, multimillionaire. He has a business called Action Coach, and he came to England. So I went to see him speak, and he lives in America. And he said, "Why do you think I live in America?" And we're like, "Don't know." He said, "If I drive my Lamborghini in England, people will shout at me a W word that isn't very nice."
Yeah.
He said, "And I've had my car vandalized. And if I drive it in Australia, I get a bit of the same. But in America, people go, 'Hey, nice car, well done, buddy.'"
Yeah.
And that's why I choose to live in America, he says, right? Because he doesn't have to compete with that. Now, you won't become what you don't like. So it's time to start congratulating everybody that's doing better than you. Okay. And then that's your
a good way. Actually, that's the first time I've heard someone put it like that. You're not going to become what you don't like. So if you're being negative about somebody because you're thinking, oh, look at them, they've got all this money and blah 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 blah, then what are you putting out into the universe about being that person? Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
You've worked online and with trading and stuff, you know, people, it's like, I want to make $10,000 a month. Okay, well, you can get this program here. It's $200. Oh, that's too much.
Yeah.
It's like,
People are
yeah,
prepared to invest in, this is what I'm learning as well. When I started the Good Life Guru, not that I'll go much into it because it's not about that today, but I wanted to help the people who I felt needed help but couldn't afford it, or were on waiting lists, and it wasn't all necessarily mental health, but even stuff like what you're doing, and just teaching people how they can change their life. And it was more about empowering people to heal and help themselves. So I'm not saying like I've got this and I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna do it for you. It's more telling you
yes.
and sharing with people how they can change their thought pattern, how they can change like if the circle of friends or maybe is negative, and just to get people to think and become aware that everything that they've got is their responsibility,
So
and it's their responsibility to change.
the truth time,
Hmm.
right? Truth time. You create your own world, people. And I can hear the feedback now. Yeah, but my
Hmm.
parents did this, and my job, and this and that. There's a thing called the ladder of personal responsibility, and you've got to climb it. And the reason why people don't get this is because it's so scary that you are responsible for everything in your life. Yeah, but I had this car accident. Yeah, but I had that. Yeah. Yes, you did. But how you think and feel about it is entirely up to you. There was a I wish I'd saved it, but there was a thing going around on Facebook, a meme, and it's two guys that were brothers, and one was a multimillionaire and one was a homeless drunk. And it's like, well, why are you a homeless drunk? Because my father was an alcoholic. Why are you a millionaire? Because my father was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's always easy.
Mm.
Now, this is why I love NLP, right? I know we're getting near end on time. This is why I love NLP and why I threw away most of my self-development books. Have you heard of the book Think and Grow Rich? It's a classic, and it is a good book. And in there, for example, it will say, well, you have to be determined. You must be determined. Makes perfect sense, and I get it. And I had a guy who helped me, Heidi, like you're trying to help people, which is fantastic, right? And he said to me, Paul, you'll be a leader. I wanted to do well online. And he said, oh, you'll be a leader when you decide to be a leader. That makes perfect sense. I get it. Just don't be depressed. Just don't be depressed. And by the way, put it behind you. You know, when we're talking about pictures, you know that picture of bread?
Yeah.
Put it behind you. If it's in front of you, just literally grab it, put it behind you. Why do we say these things? The clues are there, right? So anyway, I decided to be a leader. Nothing happened. I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and like probably millions of others, it didn't make me rich, right? Even though the information in it, yeah, I totally believe in the information in it. It's really good. The difference with NLP is it can tell you how to go from liking and really wanting Tiger Loaf to like, oh, I don't want it now.
Yeah.
So NLP gives you the how, and that's why I love NLP.
And that happened really quick when you just did that there.
So
I went from going, oh, my mouth, my tongue's like water a little bit. And I was like, I'm not hungry. But the more you talked about it, the more I was like, oh, actually, I might go and have some when I go downstairs, until you started talking about maggots and bread. Now I'm like, oh, Tiger bread.
So I had I've got a friend called Sarah, you know her.
Oh, Sarah, yeah, lovely Sarah.
So she, when she was 7 years old-ish, I think it was, she went to the circus with her mum, and the clowns. She's done a testimonial on my website, by the way. So everything I do with a client is confidential, but she's put this out, so it's fine. So anyway, clown pulls her mum out the audience to do, you know, the bucket with confetti and whatever, and you think it's water, whatever. Anyway, so 7-year-old little girl is like, these clowns are still like grabbing my mum and pulling her away. What's going on? You know, and she was scared. She had a phobia of clowns, right? And then there was a period a few years ago, you remember that like killer clowns would jump out on people. They were like, it was like joke stuff, but they were like people dressed as clowns and just
and people would go to see them, go and drive through places. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So anyway, it's generally not a problem to have a phobia of clowns. And she couldn't even see I showed her a picture of a clown to start with. It was like, no, you know. So it's generally not really much of an issue. You don't come across clowns like. So anyway, like I say, the clowns pulled Sarah's mum out the audience. You went slow. So she got this phobia of clowns, fine, until. Mummy, we got tickets to the circus. Yeah. They gave them free tickets.
I've already put the links in the description. So I've put a link in for Paul's book. which is it $7 or £7? Is your book £7 or
$7. Very cheap.
$7? $7. And then he's got a course which I've done and is amazing. It's the 5-day mindset mastery course. So you can kind of go do that. And what I like about the course that you've done is you've got the videos, but then you've got your downloadables as well. So he kind of talks you through different things, and then you've got the downloadables that you can write on and stuff as well. But before we go, I really, because there's one thing that you kind of said to me, you froze again. Oh, there, you're fine. You'll have to move, so I know you haven't froze. So one thing Paul said to me, that at the time you said it, right? Go the opposite way. And I just remember even saying, wow, like that is such a light bulb moment. And I still to this day, like use you as an example and tell people, Paul, this is what you said to me. And it was like just a light bulb moment. And it's something that you teach as well. So can you remember when we were talking about stuff and you used that model of like the motivation thing, like what motivates you? And
did I give you the sheets to do?
yes. So you had said, basically it's about looking at what motivates you and then looking at what your goals are and do they align. And when I did this exercise, I realized that, oh my God, everything I'm doing, that like where I get motivated to do things, I'm not getting what I want. I'm getting what makes us like, it was sense of accomplishment was what motivated us to do things, but I wanted money and freedom. So like everything I was doing was to tick it off a list and go, I had this idea, I feel this urgency to do it. Oh, it's going to be amazing. It's a challenge. I love a challenge. And then you do it and you tick it off and you're like, oh, is that it?
Yeah,
but then it wasn't getting it.
Yeah, it's not aligning with your values and what you really want.
And that's one of the things that you've done. That
it's so simple.
Yeah, along other things that you've said, and I hold that all the time. And that now I see, right, is what I'm doing like aligning with what I want, kind of thing. So it's obviously helped massively.
I'm trying to get this out. So one, my book is, I only charge $7 for it. It covers a bit of hosting, covers a bit of work I get done on graphics sometimes. It's not going to make me rich. It's only $7.
Yeah.
Right. And Hayley, you know, if you got questions, if you go via Hayley, right, Hayley will make sure I get them and I'll get back to you, or via Hayley, whatever. Now, I also have a 5-day transformation course. And the idea of that was, if I was sat with you, what would I want to teach you in what order to get your result faster than I did NLP? It took me a year, right? So if we wanted to cut straight to the chase, the first 2 days are about removing blockages. The third day is getting very clear on what you want. And the last 2 days are about helping you achieve that and dealing with obstacles as they come up. Now, it's done as a 5-day thing, but if you want to take 20 days, take 20 days, it's all fine. Right? It's just done, everybody's short on time and money. So I've made it very affordable for what it is. And also the time-wise, you do it at your pace. But I designed it to be 5 days. People, do you know what? Could just go, do you know what? This week, I'm doing this. And I'm just going to change my life and get it.
Well, listen, thank you obviously so much for coming on. And what I'll do is I'll try and edit this up and put it on for my podcast as well. And then what I'm going to try and do is get a guest on at the last Monday of every month. I need to kind of look at dates though to see if there's bank holidays and things like that, because we didn't realise, did we?
No, we didn't.
So then, and obviously if you feel like you've got people who you want to invite into this group, this little community, there's so much more that I'm kind of wanting to do to bring some value to everybody's lives, I guess. So everyone, thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.